Imagine reaching the age of 70, 80, or even beyond, still living with the same zest, passion, and clarity that you had in your younger years. What if we told you that age doesn't have to mean decline, but instead can be a period of profound wisdom, joy, and purpose? There are those among us who, despite the passage of time, continue to shine brightly, living not just longer, but better. What are their secrets? How do they manage to stay mentally sharp, physically fit, socially engaged, and spiritually fulfilled? In today's journey, we will draw from timeless Buddhist teachings to explore 9 powerful traits that these extraordinary individuals possess. These traits are not just for the elderly but are guiding lights for all of us, at any age, to lead a more meaningful, enriched life. Let's uncover how you, too, can harness these principles to age with grace, joy, and purpose. So, grab a cup of tea, settle in, and let's explore the secrets to living a truly fulfilling life. Maintaining mental sharpness. Maintaining mental sharpness as we age is not merely about preventing cognitive decline. It's about living a fulfilling, vibrant life, one filled with curiosity, joy, and a sense of purpose. The ability to preserve a sharp, clear mind even into one's 70s and 80s is a rare and valuable trait. It requires continuous effort, a proactive mindset, and a commitment to practices that nourish the mind. Drawing from the wisdom of Buddhist teachings, there are many strategies to help cultivate this mental clarity, ensuring that the golden years remain truly golden. In today's fast-paced world, it's not uncommon for the elderly to become targets of deceitful schemes designed to exploit their vulnerabilities. Yet, there are those who remain resilient, able to see through scams, and avoid falling into traps. Let me share the story of Mrs. Tanaka, an 82-year-old woman living alone in Tokyo. One day, she received a phone call informing her that she had won a significant cash prize. While many would have been excited and easily convinced, Mrs. Tanaka, grounded in her lifelong Buddhist practice of mindfulness, questioned everything. She remained calm, asked critical questions, and quickly realized it was a scam. Her ability to discern truth from deception was not just a matter of experience but a result of cultivating mental clarity through mindfulness. Mindfulness, a central concept in Buddhism, is the practice of being fully present in every moment. For seniors, this practice is invaluable because it not only keeps the mind sharp but also protects it from distractions and external pressures. By focusing on the present moment, individuals can cultivate a heightened sense of awareness, allowing them to respond wisely to whatever life throws their way. Thich Nhat Hanh, the renowned Vietnamese Zen master, emphasized the power of mindfulness in daily activities. Whether washing dishes, walking, or simply enjoying a cup of tea. For the elderly, adopting this mindful approach can strengthen mental resilience, making it easier to navigate life's complexities. The story of Mr. Chun, a 70-year-old retiree, is another example of how mindfulness can keep the mind sharp. Every morning, Mr. Chun begins his day with meditation, followed by reading a book or solving a puzzle. His children are often amazed at how he manages to keep up with technology, learn new skills, and remain socially active. One day, a stranger approached him claiming to be an old acquaintance who needed financial assistance. Thanks to his meditative practice, Mr. Chun maintained his composure, asked probing questions, and eventually exposed the scam. His presence of mind, developed through years of mindfulness, allowed him to avoid becoming a victim. Mental sharpness is also deeply linked to the concept of lifelong learning. The human brain is highly adaptable, capable of growth and change at any age. Research has shown that individuals who continue to engage in learning, whether it's reading, solving puzzles, or exploring new hobbies, are less likely to experience cognitive decline. The mind, much like a muscle, strengthens with regular use. In Buddhism, the pursuit of knowledge is seen as a form of spiritual growth. The Buddha himself was a lifelong learner, constantly exploring new ideas, and challenging his understanding of the world. This pursuit of knowledge is not limited by age. In fact, it can be especially beneficial for seniors, who often face the misconception that their capacity for learning diminishes over time. Mrs. Smith, a retired schoolteacher, illustrates the benefits of continual learning. At the age of 75, she decided to take up the piano, an instrument she had always admired but never had the chance to learn. The initial challenges were significant, her hands were unsteady, and her memory wasn't what it used to be. However, through patience and persistence, she not only learned to play but also discovered that her mind became sharper. Learning new songs improved her memory and hand-eye coordination, and, most importantly, brought her immense joy. Her story is a testament to the idea that it's never too late to learn something new. The benefits are not only mental but also emotional, as the sense of achievement boosts confidence and self-esteem. In addition to lifelong learning, another effective way to keep the mind active is through engaging in mental exercises. Activities such as reading, brain chess, solving crosswords, or practicing Sudoku can greatly enhance cognitive abilities. However, beyond these common practices, the Buddhist approach to maintaining mental clarity involves deeper reflection through contemplation. Contemplation allows individuals to reflect on their experiences, actions, and thoughts, fostering a sense of wisdom and inner peace. Take Dr. Anand, a retired professor who made it a habit to journal every evening. He would reflect on the events of the day, his interactions, and his thoughts and emotions. This practice of self-reflection kept his mind agile well into his 80s. By taking time each day to process his experiences, he not only sharpened his memory but also cultivated a deep sense of inner calm. This is a powerful reminder of how reflection, a key element in Buddhist practice, can help maintain mental clarity. Social interactions are another crucial factor in keeping the mind sharp. Humans are inherently social beings, and engaging in conversations, sharing stories, and listening to others' experiences not only provides emotional support, but also stimulates the brain. In Buddhist communities, elders often share their wisdom with younger generations, fostering a sense of connection and mutual respect. This exchange of knowledge and experience is mutually beneficial, keeping the elders' minds engaged while enriching the lives of the young. Mr. Kumar, an 85-year-old former businessman, exemplifies the power of social interactions in maintaining mental agility. Every week, he participates in a discussion group where members discuss books, current events, and even Buddhist teachings. These gatherings are not just social events. They challenge his mind, encourage critical thinking, and bring joy to his life. For Mr. Kumar, these interactions are a form of mental exercise, keeping his mind as active as it was in his younger years. Beyond social engagement, meditation remains one of the most powerful tools. For mental clarity, meditation helps calm the mind, reduce stress, and enhance focus. For older adults, even a few minutes of meditation daily can have profound effects on their mental and emotional well-being. Mrs. Zhang, who found herself struggling with loneliness after her husband's death, discovered the transformative power of meditation through a local Buddhist group. Initially, she was hesitant, but as she practiced, she found her mind becoming clearer and her emotions more balanced. Meditation became her anchor, helping her find peace and a renewed sense of purpose. Finally, embracing a growth mindset is essential for maintaining mental sharpness in old age. A growth mindset is the belief that one can continue to learn, grow, and adapt, no matter one's age. This perspective is closely aligned with Buddhist teachings, which emphasize the importance of embracing change and remaining open to new experiences. As the Buddha taught, change is the only constant in life, and accepting this truth allows us to approach each stage of life with curiosity and flexibility. Mr. Davis, at the age of 78, decided to explore the world of digital photography. Initially, the technology seemed overwhelming, but he approached it with patience and curiosity. Over time, he mastered new techniques, found joy in capturing moments, and kept his mind engaged. His story is a powerful example of how a growth mindset can transform one's later years into a period of discovery and fulfillment. Maintaining mental sharpness as we age is not just about avoiding cognitive decline, but about embracing life fully, with curiosity, joy, and a sense of purpose. Whether through mindfulness, lifelong learning, social interactions, meditation, or cultivating a growth mindset, we can keep our minds vibrant. As the Buddha wisely said, "Your worst enemy cannot harm you as much as your own unguarded thoughts." Therefore, it's essential to guard our minds, nurture them, and let them be a source of strength and wisdom throughout our golden years. Staying physically healthy. Maintaining physical health is the foundation for a fulfilling and happy life. There is nothing more precious than staying healthy, especially as we enter the later years of life. If at the age of 70 or 80, you can still move around, exercise, and perform simple tasks independently, then you are truly a rare gem. Taking care of your health not only helps you live longer, but also enhances the quality of your life, freeing you from relying on others for care. There is a real-life story from a small temple in Thailand that demonstrates the value of maintaining physical health even in old age. There lived a monk who lived beyond 100 years. Every day, at the break of dawn, he would wake up, start by sweeping the temple grounds, and follow it with light yoga-like stretches. Despite his advanced age, he maintained an impressive level of flexibility and energy. When asked about his secret to longevity, he simply smiled and said, "A joyful heart is the best medicine." His life was a testament to balance and simplicity. He was always grateful for the small things in life, and found joy even in routine activities like sweeping the courtyard or tending to the temple's garden. In Buddhism, caring for the body is not merely a physical act but also part of nurturing the mind and spirit. Buddha once said that the body is like a boat that helps us cross the river of life. If this boat is not cared for, it will deteriorate, making it impossible for us to reach the other shore. Therefore, maintaining good health not only prolongs life but also ensures mental clarity, helping us achieve inner peace. One of the simplest ways to stay healthy is through daily physical activity. There's no need for complex workouts or gym visits. Something as simple as a leisurely walk in the park or gentle stretching in the morning can make a significant difference. Imagine yourself walking through a tranquil garden, surrounded by the sounds of birds chirping and the fragrance of blooming flowers. Each step not only promotes better blood circulation but also brings a sense of serenity to your soul. This is a form of walking meditation, allowing you to connect your mind and body with each step. Another story is that of Mr. Lu, a 78-year-old man living in rural China. Even at nearly 80, he maintains a routine of waking up early to tend to his garden. Every morning, Mr. Lu cares for his vegetable beds, pruning each plant in his small garden. When asked about the secret to his health, he shared that the joy he finds in gardening has kept him strong. Watching flowers bloom and fruits ripen gives him a profound sense of fulfillment. Gardening not only keeps him physically active but also brings him spiritual joy, helping him avoid the loneliness that often accompanies old age. In addition to physical activity, a balanced diet is crucial for maintaining good health. Buddha taught that we should eat to nourish the body, not to satisfy fleeting cravings. A diet rich in easily digestible foods like vegetables, fruits, and whole grains can keep the body functioning well, especially in old age. Another touching story comes from Japan, where the elderly are known for their longevity. In Okinawa, a region famous for its centenarians, the secret to their long lives lies not only in a healthy diet but also in an active and joyful lifestyle. Mrs. Sato, a 96-year-old woman, shared that she eats plenty of vegetables, drinks green tea, and often spends time with friends. But above all, her secret is living with ikigai, a reason to wake up every morning. For Mrs. Sato, the joy of tending her garden and chatting with her neighbors gives her the motivation to live a healthy and happy life. However, maintaining good health is not only about physical exercise and diet, but also about cultivating a positive mindset. In Buddhism, inner peace is the key to good health. Buddha once said, "A peaceful mind leads to a healthy body." Negative emotions like anger, anxiety, or envy can be harmful to physical health. Therefore, keeping a relaxed and cheerful mind is essential. Take the story of Mr. Bao, a 75-year-old man from Vietnam who experienced a severe heart attack. After recovering, he realized that stress and anxiety were the main reasons his health had deteriorated. From that point forward, he started practicing meditation and learning to let go of unnecessary worries. He shared that meditation not only improved his health but also made him feel happier. Now, every day is a joy for him as he focuses on living and cherishing each precious moment. By combining a healthy diet, regular exercise, and nurturing a positive mindset, we can maintain good health even into old age. However, the most important thing is to find joy in the simple and ordinary things in life. Buddha reminded us that happiness does not come from what we have, but from how we perceive life. For the elderly, this is even more true. A joyful heart and a peaceful mind are the keys to abundant health and a fulfilled life. Think of the simple pleasures such as sipping a warm cup of tea in the morning, watching the sunrise, or enjoying a gentle breeze through the window. These moments are the best medicine for the mind and body. When we appreciate the little joys, slow down, and savor each moment, that is when we truly live healthily, regardless of our age. Caring for physical health is not a race but a journey. Along this journey, each person needs to find ways to love themselves and take care of their body in the best way possible. Listen to your body, nourish it with wholesome foods, exercise regularly, and, most importantly, keep your mind relaxed and happy. Doing so will not only extend your life but also bring you a life full of meaning and joy. Cultivating hobbies to keep life vibrant. In the journey of life, cultivating hobbies can become a source of light that keeps the mind active and the spirit vibrant. As we age, it's easy to feel that time is slipping away and that life's joys are diminishing. However, those who discover or rediscover passions late in life often find themselves renewed, their days filled with a sense of purpose and fulfillment. These activities, whether they are creative, physical, or intellectual, serve as a bridge to a deeper sense of self-awareness and joy. Hobbies are not merely pastimes, they are expressions of the heart, allowing the mind to engage fully in the present moment, which is a core tenet of Buddhist philosophy. Take, for instance, the story of Dr. Lee, a retired professor who began practicing calligraphy in his 70s. For most of his life, Dr. Lee was consumed with academic work, dedicating himself to teaching and research. Upon retiring, he found himself at a loss. The sudden absence of structure in his daily life was unsettling, and he often felt restless. On the advice of a friend, he decided to try calligraphy. At first, it was a struggle. His hands were unsteady, and his strokes were shaky. Yet, as he persevered, something remarkable happened. Each brushstroke became a meditation in itself, requiring focus, patience, and a steady hand. Over time, not only did his skills improve, but so did his outlook on life. The joy he found in perfecting each stroke kept his mind sharp, and the rhythmic movement of his brush became a source of inner peace. Calligraphy, for Dr. Lee, was not just an art form but a spiritual practice that brought him closer to the present moment. Buddhism teaches us the value of right effort, one of the steps on the Noble Eightfold Path. Engaging in meaningful activities, especially in our later years, is a way to channel our energy into something that nurtures the soul. When we pour our hearts into something we love, it becomes more than just a hobby, it becomes a form of mindfulness. By focusing our energy on creative and fulfilling pursuits, we align ourselves with the Buddhist principle of living fully in the present moment. In a small village in Vietnam, there lived a man named Mr. Tran, who, after retiring, discovered a passion for pottery. For decades, he had worked tirelessly as a fisherman, enduring the harshness of the sea to provide for his family. But when his body grew too frail to continue, he struggled with feelings of worthlessness and isolation. One day, while visiting a local market, he watched a potter shaping clay and was captivated. Encouraged by a friend, he decided to give it a try. First, his attempts were clumsy. The clay would not yield to his hands, but he found peace in the process, the feel of the earth between his fingers, the patience required to shape something beautiful from a lump of clay. Over time, his skill improved, and so did his sense of self-worth. Pottery became not just a hobby, but a way for him to reconnect with himself. It was through the simple act of creating that he found a new rhythm to his days, a new purpose in his life. Hobbies, particularly those that engage the hands and mind, can serve as a form of meditation. The repetitive actions required in activities like knitting, painting, or even gardening can induce a state of flow, where time seems to slip away, and the mind is fully immersed in the present. This mirrors the practice of Zen Buddhism, where everyday activities like sweeping the floor or arranging flowers are seen as opportunities for mindfulness. The beauty of hobbies lies in their ability to bring joy while also fostering a deep sense of peace. They remind us that we are never too old to learn, to grow, or to experience the simple pleasure of creating something with our own hands. Mrs. Nakamura, an 85-year-old widow living in Kyoto, found solace in gardening after the passing of her husband. She had never been particularly interested in plants, but when her children gifted her a set of flower pots and some seeds, she decided to give it a try. First, it was merely a way to pass the time, but as the plants began to grow, she found herself waking up each morning excited to see what had changed overnight. Gardening became a source of joy and a way to connect with the cycles of nature. Watching the flowers bloom and the leaves change with the seasons brought her comfort and a renewed appreciation for the beauty of life. It was in the quiet moments of tending to her plants that she found a sense of inner peace, realizing that life, like a garden, requires patience, care, and attention to flourish. The Buddhist concept of impermanence teaches us that everything in life is transient. By engaging in hobbies, we can better appreciate this truth. Take, for example, the art of Japanese flower arranging, ikebana. This practice emphasizes simplicity, asymmetry, and the fleeting beauty of nature. When arranging flowers, practitioners focus not on the outcome but on the process, understanding that the flowers will soon wilt. This acceptance of impermanence allows them to find joy in the act of creating, rather than clinging to the final product. This can be a powerful lesson for those in their later years to embrace the present, to find joy in the moment, and to let go of attachments to what once was. Mr. Patel, who lived in a bustling city in India, took up playing the flute in his retirement. He had always loved music but had never had the time to learn an instrument. After retiring, he decided it was finally time to pursue his passion. First, his playing was hesitant, the notes often out of tune, but with practice, he improved, and the sound of his flute became a familiar melody that filled his home. It was not just the music that brought him joy but the act of learning something new. Each day, as he practiced, he felt a sense of progress, however small. This, in turn, gave him the motivation to keep going. For Mr. Patel, playing the flute was not just about creating music. It was about rediscovering the joy of learning and the satisfaction that comes from mastering something new. Hobbies can also be a powerful antidote to loneliness. In a world that often becomes narrower with age, where social circles shrink and physical capabilities decline, hobbies offer a way to stay engaged. curious, and connected. They provide structure to the day, something to look forward to, and a way to connect with others who share similar interests. Whether it's joining a knitting group, a book club, or an online forum, for photography enthusiasts, these connections can be a lifeline, offering not just companionship but also a sense of belonging. In Buddhist communities, the value of community engagement is highly emphasized. The simple act of coming together to share a hobby can be an opportunity for connection and mutual support. In many temples, elderly monks and lay people gather to engage in activities like tea ceremonies, calligraphy, or even singing traditional songs. These gatherings are not just about the activities themselves, but about the relationships that are built through shared experiences. The joy of doing something together, of being part of a community, is a powerful source of happiness. Mr. Evans, a retired engineer in his 70s, found his passion for woodworking after joining a local men's shed, a community space where retirees come together to work on projects, share skills, and socialize. What started as a way to pass the time became a passion. The smell of freshly cut wood, the satisfaction of creating something tangible with his hands, and the camaraderie of working alongside others brought him immense joy. For Mr. Evans, woodworking was not just a hobby, it was a way to stay connected, to feel useful, and to find fulfillment in his retirement years. Hobbies remind us that life is not solely about productivity or achievement, but about joy and fulfillment. In Buddhism, the idea of being rather than doing is central to achieving inner peace. When we engage in activities that we love, without the pressure of achieving something, we are truly living in the moment. The joy derived from hobbies is a pure, childlike joy, one that is untainted by the demands of success or recognition. Ultimately, the act of cultivating hobbies is a way to celebrate life. It's about reconnecting with the things that bring us joy, that make our hearts sing, and that remind us of the simple pleasures of being alive. Whether it's tending to a garden, painting a canvas, playing an instrument, or even just taking a walk in the park to observe the changing colors of the leaves. These activities allow us to remain curious, engaged, and grateful for each day. As we grow older, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that our best days are behind us. But those who embrace hobbies, who continue to explore, learn, and create, prove that life can remain vibrant and full of possibility, no matter one's age. In the end, it's not about the number of years in your life, but the life in your years. And by cultivating hobbies, we can ensure that each of those years is rich with meaning, joy, and a sense of purpose, embracing lifelong learning. In a world that is constantly changing, the ability to embrace lifelong learning is one of the most valuable qualities we can cultivate. Even in our later years, the process of learning something new not only keeps the mind sharp, but also breathes fresh life into each day. Learning is not limited by age. Rather, it is a mindset, a way of seeing the world with curiosity and an open heart. For those who continue to learn, every day is an opportunity for growth, discovery, and connection. Mrs. Johnson, a grandmother in her late 70s, offers a wonderful example of the power of continual learning. After her husband passed away, she found herself feeling isolated. Her grandchildren lived far away, and she rarely had the opportunity to see them. Determined to stay connected, she decided to learn how to use a smartphone. In the beginning, it was a struggle. Her fingers fumbled over the touchscreen, and the constant stream of notifications confused her. But she was patient with herself, taking it one step at a time. Slowly, she began to master the basics, sending messages, making video calls, and even joining online Buddhist study groups where she could engage in discussions about teachings that had always intrigued her. The process of learning how to use new technology not only helped her stay in touch with her loved ones, but also opened up a world of new connections. For Mrs. Johnson, the smartphone became more than just a device. It was a bridge to a community, a way to keep her mind engaged, and a tool for spiritual growth. In Buddhism, there is great value placed on the pursuit of knowledge and wisdom. The Buddha himself was a lifelong seeker of truth, constantly exploring new ways to understand the nature of suffering and the path to enlightenment. He once said, "An investment in knowledge pays the best interest." This teaching is a reminder that no matter how old we are, the pursuit of learning can enrich our lives in profound ways. Whether it's mastering a new skill, exploring a different language, or simply reading a book on a topic of interest, the act of learning keeps our minds flexible and engaged. It is a practice of mindfulness, where we fully immerse ourselves in the present moment, absorbing the knowledge that unfolds before us. Consider Mr. Tanaka, an 82-year-old retired engineer from Japan who decided to learn how to code. Having spent his entire career working with machinery, he had always been curious about computers but never had the time to explore them. One day, after reading an article about the benefits of coding for mental sharpness, he decided to give it a try. At first, it seemed daunting. Lines of code looked like a foreign language, but with patience and persistence, he began to understand the logic behind it. Every day, he would spend a few hours experimenting with simple programs, gradually increasing the complexity as he grew more confident. Coding became a form of meditation for him, a way to challenge his mind and keep it active. What surprised him the most was not just the satisfaction of solving problems, but the realization that even at his age, he could still learn something entirely new. It was a testament to the idea that age is no barrier to growth. In Buddhist practice, learning is not merely about acquiring knowledge, but about cultivating wisdom. The difference is subtle but significant. Knowledge is information, while wisdom is the deep understanding that comes from applying that knowledge to one's life. For those in their later years, lifelong learning can be a way to develop wisdom, to see the world through a clearer, more compassionate lens. This is particularly important in a world that often changes faster than we can keep up with. By embracing the process of learning, we adapt more easily to these changes, remaining open to new experiences and perspectives. In a small town in Italy, there was a woman named Maria who, at the age of 79, decided to learn how to paint. She had always loved art but had never picked up a brush, thinking that it was too late for her to start something new. But one day, inspired by a painting class being offered at the local community center, she decided to give it a try. The first few classes were difficult. Her hands trembled, and she found it challenging to mix the colors just right. But she found joy in the process, in the way the colors blended on the canvas, and in the satisfaction of creating something with her own hands. Painting became a way for her to express emotions she had kept inside for years, and it brought her a sense of peace she had never experienced before. Her artwork, though simple, became an expression of her life's journey, each brushstroke a testament to her resilience. In Buddhism, there is a concept called beginner's mind. It refers to the openness and eagerness of a beginner, free from the preconceptions that often come with experience. When we embrace lifelong learning, we are practicing beginner's mind, approaching each new skill or subject with curiosity and without judgment. This mindset can be incredibly freeing, especially for seniors who may feel that their best years of learning are behind them. The truth is, every day offers a new opportunity to learn something that can enrich our lives. Another inspiring story is that of Mr. Singh, a retired accountant from India, who decided to take up learning the violin at the age of 75. He had always loved classical music but had never had the time to learn an instrument. First, it was incredibly challenging. His fingers were stiff, and the sound he produced was more screech than melody. But he persevered. Each day, he practiced a little longer, focusing not on perfection but on the joy of making progress. Over time, the music became smoother, and he found himself playing simple tunes. For his grandchildren, the violin was more than just an instrument. It was a way for him to connect with his family, to share something he loved, and to bring joy into their lives. Lifelong learning also brings a sense of empowerment. Many older adults feel that the world is moving too fast for them to keep up, but by embracing learning, they realize that they are not left behind. They are simply on a different path. Mrs. Chung, an 81-year-old in Singapore, decided to learn how to bake after she retired. She had never been much of a cook, but she wanted to find a way to bond with her grandchildren, who often visited on weekends. She started with simple recipes, following instructions from online videos. Her first few attempts were disasters. The cakes came out flat, and the cookies were burnt. But she didn't give up. Slowly, she learned the nuances of baking, and soon, her kitchen was filled with the sweet aroma of freshly baked treats. Her grandchildren loved spending time with her, and baking became their special ritual. For Mrs. Chung, the joy was not just in the baking but in the sense of accomplishment and connection it brought. Buddhist teachings emphasize that learning is a journey, not a destination. The Buddha himself spent his life seeking knowledge, understanding that the path to enlightenment was one of continuous growth. This is a powerful lesson for all of us. Especially as we age. By embracing lifelong learning, we keep our minds flexible, our spirits youthful, and our hearts open to the beauty of the world. Lifelong learning also fosters resilience. In a world that is constantly changing, those who are willing to adapt, to learn, and to grow are the ones who thrive. The act of learning something new, no matter how small, can bring a sense of joy, an accomplishment that wards off feelings of stagnation or decline. It is a way of affirming that life is still full of possibilities, even in its later stages. In the mountains of Nepal, there lived an elderly monk who, at the age of 90, decided to learn how to play the bamboo flute. He had spent his life meditating and teaching others, but he had always been fascinated by the sound of the flute, which he often heard in the distance. With the help of a younger monk, he began to practice. It was difficult at first. His breath control was weak, and his fingers moved slowly, but he found joy in each note. In the simple act of creating music, the flute became an extension of his meditation practice. Each breath a reminder of the preciousness of life. Even in his final years, he was learning, growing, and finding new ways to experience the world. These stories remind us that it's never too late to start something new. The world is full of knowledge waiting to be discovered, and by embracing lifelong learning, we can continue to grow, to adapt, and to find joy in the journey. The Buddha taught that the mind is like a lamp that must be kept burning brightly, and learning is one of the best ways to keep that flame alive. As we open ourselves to new experiences, we not only enrich our own lives, but also inspire those around us to embrace the beauty of continual growth. Financial independence. Financial independence is not merely about accumulating wealth, but rather about finding a sense of security, dignity, and peace in knowing that you can sustain yourself without burdening others. It's a concept deeply rooted in Buddhist teachings, which emphasize simplicity, contentment, and the wisdom of living within one's means. In a world where we are constantly encouraged to chase after material possessions, the ability to focus on what truly matters, our needs rather than our desires, becomes a source of inner strength and freedom. Let's take the story of Mr. Kim, an elderly farmer in South Korea. As an example, he lived a modest life, working hard in his fields for decades. Even after retiring, he chose not to rest idly but instead managed a small garden on his property. Each morning, as the sun rose, Mr. Kim would tend to his vegetables and fruits, though his hands were worn and his back bent with age. He found great joy in nurturing the plants. The produce he grew was more than enough to sustain him, and the excess he sold at the local market. What was remarkable about Mr. Kim was not just his work ethic, but his determination to live without relying on his children for financial support. He took pride in his ability to stand on his own, even in old age. For him, it wasn't about accumulating wealth but about maintaining his dignity and independence. He once said, "To be able to earn your own meal, even if it's a simple bowl of rice, brings a peace that no amount of money can buy." In Buddhism, there is a great emphasis on simplicity and the concept of contentment. The Buddha taught that desires are like a bottomless pit. The more you try to fill it, the more empty it feels. True contentment, he said, comes not from having much but from wanting little. This is why the practice of moderation is so deeply valued. It is not about denying oneself the pleasures of life but about recognizing when enough is enough. For seniors, especially, this mindset can be incredibly liberating. By focusing on what is truly necessary and letting go of the urge to keep up with others, they can find a profound sense of peace. Consider the life of Mrs. Wu, a widow in her late 70s living in Taiwan. After her husband passed away, she found herself facing financial uncertainty. Rather than becoming overwhelmed, she decided to simplify her lifestyle. She moved to a smaller home, reduced her expenses, and began to grow her own vegetables on a tiny balcony garden. Mrs. Wu also learned to cook simple, nutritious meals using the fresh produce she grew. This not only saved her money but also brought her a sense of accomplishment. She found that by living simply, she could stretch her modest pension to cover all her needs. In the evenings, she would meditate on the Buddhist teaching that wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. This shift in perspective allowed her to embrace a new chapter of her life with gratitude and contentment. There's a common misconception that financial independence is synonymous with being wealthy. However, the truth is that it's more about making wise decisions and cultivating a sense of self-reliance. In Buddhism, the practice of right livelihood teaches that how we earn and use our money should align with our values. It's not about how much you have, but about how you use it to support a life that is ethical and meaningful. For the elderly, this often means letting go of the societal pressure to accumulate and instead focusing on creating a life of peace and simplicity. In a small village in India, Mr. Patel, a retired schoolteacher, lived a life that reflected this principle. He had never earned much during his career, but he was careful with what he had. He avoided unnecessary expenses, chose not to buy luxury items, and instead focused on saving for his later years. When he retired, he lived comfortably on his modest savings, using his money to support not just his own needs but also to help his neighbors in times of difficulty. Mr. Patel understood that financial independence was not about hoarding wealth but about using it wisely and with compassion. His generosity was well known in the village, and even in his old age, he continued to support the education of local children. For him, the true wealth lay in the relationships he had built and the goodwill he had earned. One of the core teachings of Buddhism is that clinging to material possessions can be a source of suffering. The more we accumulate, the more we worry about losing it. This is why the Buddha often advised his followers to practice generosity, to give freely without attachment. For seniors, especially those who may be living on a fixed income, the idea of giving might seem counterintuitive. However, the act of giving, even if it's just a small gesture, can bring immense joy and fulfillment. It's a reminder that no matter how little we have, there is always something we can offer to others, whether it's our time, our wisdom, or even a kind word. Consider the story of Mrs. Chen, an 80-year-old retired nurse in Singapore. She lived frugally, having learned from her Buddhist practice the value of contentment. Although she had a modest pension, she would set aside a small portion each month to donate to a local charity that provided meals for the underprivileged. She found great joy in knowing that her contributions, however small, were making a difference in someone's life. For Mrs. Chen, the act of giving was not just about helping others, but about cultivating a spirit of generosity that kept her connected to her community. She often reflected on the Buddhist teaching that the more we give, the richer we become. For many elderly individuals, managing finances in later years can be a source of anxiety, especially when faced with rising medical expenses or unforeseen circumstances. This is why it's crucial to cultivate a mindset of financial mindfulness, focusing on what truly matters. The Buddhist practice of mindfulness can be applied not just to our thoughts and actions, but also to how we manage our money. By being mindful of our spending, we can make choices that align with our values and bring us closer to a life of peace. Let's return to the story of Mr. Kim, the elderly farmer. Despite his modest income, he always kept a small emergency fund hidden away in a jar. It was a habit he had developed during his younger years when life was more uncertain. This simple act of saving, even if it was just a little bit at a time, gave him a sense of security. When a typhoon damaged his roof, he didn't panic. Instead, he used his savings to repair the damage without needing to ask for help. His story illustrates the Buddhist teaching that a wise person plans for the future while living contentedly in the present. Another example is Mr. Lopez, a retired factory worker in Mexico who, after years of laboring, had managed to save enough to buy a small home. Rather than seeking a luxurious lifestyle, he chose to live simply, growing his own food and using solar panels to reduce his utility bills. He found that by focusing on sustainability and self-sufficiency, he not only saved money but also lived in harmony with the environment. Mr. Lopez's lifestyle was guided by the Buddhist principle of non-harming, living in a way that minimizes harm to both oneself and the world around us. In the end, financial independence is less about the size of your bank account and more about cultivating a life that is both meaningful
and sustainable.
By focusing on our true needs and letting go of the desire for more, we can find a deep sense of contentment. The wisdom of Buddhism reminds us that wealth is not just about what we have, but about how we live. By embracing simplicity, practicing generosity, and making mindful choices, we can create a life that is rich in joy, peace, and fulfillment. As we age, there is great freedom in letting go of the need to impress others or to accumulate more than we need. The true measure of wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the peace of mind that comes from living a life aligned with our deepest values. In the words of the Buddha, contentment is the greatest wealth. It is in this spirit that we find the strength to live out our golden years with grace, dignity, and a heart full of gratitude. Broad-mindedness and letting go. Broad-mindedness and the ability to let go of past grievances are among the most liberating qualities one can cultivate, especially as we grow older. As time passes, it's easy to become rigid in our ways, holding tightly to our beliefs, judgments, and past hurts. Yet, the rare individuals who manage to maintain an open heart and an open mind find that their later years are filled with far more peace, joy, and fulfillment. In Buddhism, there is great wisdom in the teaching that holding on to anger or grudges is like grasping a hot coal with the intention of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. The story of Mrs. Lee, an 84-year-old retired schoolteacher, beautifully illustrates the power of letting go. For over 3 decades, she harbored resentment toward a close friend who had wronged her in their youth. They had been inseparable during their college years, but an argument over money led to their falling out. Even as years turned into decades, Mrs. Lee could not bring herself to forgive. She often found herself replaying the argument in her mind, consumed by the betrayal she felt. However, as she grew older, she began to realize that the grudge she was holding onto was only hurting herself. Inspired by a talk she attended at her local Buddhist temple, where the monk spoke about the liberating power of forgiveness, she decided to reach out to her old friend. At first, it was not easy. Writing the letter took weeks as she struggled to find the right words. But when she finally sent it, she felt an immense weight lift off her shoulders. To her surprise, her friend responded with an apology and gratitude, The act of letting go allowed Mrs. Lee to find peace in her remaining years, rekindling a friendship she thought was lost forever. Buddhist teachings emphasize that clinging to negative emotions like anger, jealousy, and resentment only serves to poison our minds. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha says, "Hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This is the eternal rule." This teaching is a reminder that holding on to anger does not resolve the pain. It only deepens it. As we age, the ability to let go of these heavy burdens becomes even more important. By doing so, we open ourselves up to new experiences, relationships, and the joy that comes from living with a light heart. Another story that demonstrates the transformative power of broad-mindedness is that of Mr. Wong, a 79-year-old shopkeeper in Hong Kong. Mr. Wong had always been known in his community as a strict, no-nonsense man who ran his store with an iron fist. He expected punctuality, honesty, and hard work from his employees, and he was quick to criticize anyone who fell short of his expectations. However, after suffering a mild stroke, Mr. Wong was forced to take a step back from the business he had devoted his life to. During his recovery, he spent more time at the local temple, where he began attending meditation sessions. It was here that he came across a teaching that struck him deeply. The tighter you hold onto something, the more it slips through your fingers. Reflecting on this, Mr. Wong realized how rigid he had become, not only in his business but also in his relationships with his family and friends. He decided to make a conscious effort to be more open and understanding. He reconnected with his estranged son, who had left the family business years earlier after a bitter argument. By letting go of his need to control and allowing himself to truly listen, he repaired a relationship he thought was beyond saving. In his later years, Mr. Wong became a gentler, more compassionate man. He often told his grandchildren, "The greatest strength is not in holding on but in knowing when to let go." In Buddhism, the practice of letting go is not about passivity or resignation. It's about releasing the tight grip we have on our expectations, our judgments, and our desires. It's about embracing the impermanent nature of life and understanding that everything is in a constant state of change. This is especially important as we age, for it allows us to accept the changes in our bodies, our relationships, and our circumstances with grace. By cultivating a broad-minded and open-hearted approach to life, we can navigate the challenges of aging with far less suffering. Mrs. Patel, a 75-year-old widow in India, found herself grappling with the bitterness of losing her husband suddenly to a heart attack. They had been married for over 50 years, and his absence left a void that seemed impossible to fill. For months, she was consumed by anger at the doctors, God, and even at herself for not recognizing the signs earlier. During one of her visits to a local ashram, she spoke to a spiritual teacher who told her a simple but profound truth. Holding on to your pain will not bring him back, but letting it go will set you free. It was a turning point for Mrs. Patel. She began practicing loving-kindness meditation, where she would silently send wishes of peace and happiness to herself, her late husband, and even those she felt had wronged her. Over time, the bitterness faded, and she found a sense of inner peace that she had thought was lost forever. Letting go of her anger allowed her to cherish the memories of her husband with love rather than regret. The practice of broad-mindedness also extends to how we view others. It's easy, especially as we grow older, to become judgmental and set in our ways. But the Buddha taught that an open mind is like a fertile field, always ready to receive new seeds of wisdom. This is exemplified in the story of Mr. Garcia, an 82-year-old retired judge in Spain, known for his strict adherence to the law. He had spent his career making judgments based on evidence and facts. However, in his later years, he realized that life was far more nuanced than the black and white world of the courtroom. He joined a book club, where members ranged from teenagers to fellow retirees. First, he was skeptical of the younger members' perspectives. dismissing their views as naive. But as he listened with an open mind, he began to appreciate their insights. He learned that wisdom is not confined to age or experience, but can come from anyone willing to see the world with fresh eyes. This openness not only enriched his own understanding, but also allowed him to form meaningful friendships across generations. In the end, broad-mindedness is about allowing life to flow freely, without being hindered by our rigid expectations or past hurts. It's about seeing each moment as an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to love. The Buddha's teaching, "Let go, and you will find peace," serves as a timeless reminder that the path to true happiness lies not in holding on to what was, but in embracing what is.
M.R. Thompson.
An 87-year-old former musician, spent years feeling bitter after arthritis forced him to give up playing the piano. Music had been his life, his passion, and without it, he felt lost. But after attending a mindfulness retreat led by a Buddhist teacher, he realized that while he could no longer play music, he could still enjoy it. He began attending concerts, listening to records, and even teaching music appreciation classes at a local senior center. By letting go of the attachment to his identity as a pianist, he found a new way to connect with the music he loved. This shift in perspective brought him a renewed sense of purpose and joy. Broad-mindedness and the ability to let go are not traits that come naturally. They require practice, patience, and a willingness to look within. But for those who embrace these qualities, the rewards are immense. In our later years, these virtues can transform what might otherwise be a time of regret and bitterness into a period of peace, fulfillment, and contentment. The act of letting go is not about forgetting or giving up. It's about releasing the burdens that no longer serve us, allowing us to embrace the present moment with a full and open heart. As we age, the greatest gift we can give ourselves is the freedom that comes from letting go and living with a broad, compassionate, and open mind, building strong social connections. Building strong social connections is one of the most vital aspects of living a meaningful and fulfilling life. As humans, we are inherently social beings, and our well-being is deeply influenced by the relationships we nurture. The Buddha once said, "Friendship is the whole of the spiritual life." This profound statement reflects the value of having a supportive network of friends and loved ones who can offer joy, comfort, and understanding, especially as we grow older. In our later years, when many aspects of life may become more challenging, the bonds we have formed over the years can become a source of immense strength and resilience. Take, for example, the story of Mr. Patel, a 75-year-old man living in India. After retiring from his job as a school principal, he initially found himself feeling isolated. His children had moved abroad, and he missed the daily interactions he used to have with his colleagues and students. Rather than resigning himself to loneliness, Mr. Patel decided to take action. He began hosting a weekly tea gathering at his home, inviting neighbors and old friends. At first, the gatherings were small, just a few people sharing stories over cups of steaming chai. But as word spread, more people began to join. These gatherings became a cherished ritual, providing everyone with a chance to connect, laugh, and share their experiences. For Mr. Patel, it was not just about having a social circle, it was about creating a space where everyone felt welcome and valued. The joy he found in these connections brought new life into his days, proving that age is no barrier to building meaningful relationships. In Buddhism, the concept of Sangha, community, is considered one of the three jewels, alongside the Buddha and the Dharma, teachings. The Sangha is a group of like-minded individuals who support each other on their spiritual paths. This idea can be applied to any community where people come together to share, support, and uplift each other. For the elderly, having a Sangha-like community can be incredibly beneficial, not just for their mental health but also for their overall well-being. Studies have shown that social interactions can lower blood pressure, reduce the risk of dementia, and even extend longevity. But beyond the physical benefits, there is a deep sense of fulfillment that comes from knowing you are not alone in the world. Consider the story of Mrs. Thompson, an 82-year-old woman living in a small town in England. After her husband passed away, she found herself struggling with the silence that filled her home. The days felt long, and the nights were even longer. One day, while walking through the park, she noticed a group of people gathered for a weekly book club. Curious, she approached them, and before she knew it, she was invited to join. The book club became a lifeline for her, providing not just intellectual stimulation but also a sense of belonging. The friendships she formed with fellow members brought laughter back into her life. They would often extend their meetings beyond discussing books, sharing personal stories, and even going on small trips together. For Mrs. Thompson, these connections were a reminder that even in her later years, life still held the possibility of new friendships and shared experiences. Social connections are not just about having people to talk to, they are about fostering deep, meaningful bonds that enrich our lives. In Buddhism, there is a practice called metta, or loving-kindness meditation, where we cultivate feelings of goodwill towards ourselves and others. By practicing metta, we open our hearts to those around us, creating space for genuine connections. This practice can be particularly powerful for those who may feel isolated or disconnected. By sending thoughts of kindness and love to others, we begin to break down the barriers that separate us and open ourselves up to new relationships. The story of Mr. Huang, a retired carpenter in Taiwan, highlights how simple acts of kindness can foster strong social bonds. Living alone after his wife passed away, Mr. Huang would often spend his afternoons sitting on a bench outside his house, watching the world go by. One day, he noticed a young boy struggling to fix a broken bicycle. Without hesitation, he offered his help. Using the skills he had honed over a lifetime, the boy's parents, grateful for his assistance, began visiting Mr. Huang regularly. What started as a simple act of kindness blossomed into a beautiful friendship. The family would invite him over for meals, and he, in turn, would share stories of his youth and teach the boy carpentry. These interactions gave Mr. Huang a renewed sense of purpose, filling his days with laughter and warmth. The Buddha emphasized the importance of right speech, speaking truthfully, kindly, and with the intention of benefiting others. This principle can be applied to our social interactions, where the way we communicate can either strengthen or weaken our relationships. As we grow older, it becomes even more important to choose our words wisely, to speak with compassion, and to listen with an open heart. Sometimes, simply being present and truly listening to someone can be one of the greatest gifts we can offer. In a bustling city like New York, where people are often too busy to connect,
Merece Rodriguez.
a retired nurse, found a unique way to build her social circle. Living alone in her apartment, she noticed how many of her neighbors seemed to rush in and out of the building without acknowledging each other. Wanting to change this, she began a tradition of baking cookies and leaving them at the building's entrance with a sign that read, "Take one, and if you have time, stop by for coffee." At first, only a few people responded, but gradually, her apartment became a gathering place. For neighbors who had never spoken to each other before, the simple act of sharing food became a way to break down barriers and create a sense of community. Mrs. Rodriguez's kindness transformed her apartment building into a place where people greeted each other by name and looked out for one another. The concept of dana, or generosity, in Buddhism teaches that by giving freely, we cultivate a sense of interconnectedness. It's not just about giving material things, but also about offering our time, our attention, and our compassion. For seniors who may feel that they have little to give, the gift of presence can be incredibly powerful. By showing up for others, whether through a kind word, a shared meal, or simply a listening ear, we can create bonds that are more valuable than any material wealth. Mr. Silva, a retired professor in Brazil, exemplified this spirit of generosity. He lived in a neighborhood where many elderly residents felt isolated. Inspired by his Buddhist practice, he began organizing monthly gatherings where everyone would bring a dish to share. These gatherings became a space for people to connect, share stories, and support one another. For many attendees, it was the highlight of their month, a chance to laugh, share their burdens, and feel part of something larger than themselves. Mr. Silva's simple act of bringing people together had a ripple effect, fostering a community that looked out for one another and found joy in each other's company. In the twilight years of life, the importance of social connections becomes even more pronounced. It's not just about avoiding loneliness, but about enriching the time we have left with meaningful interactions. The friendships we nurture can bring joy, support, and a sense of purpose. The Buddha's teachings remind us that by cultivating compassion, practicing kindness, and embracing community, we can create a life filled with love and connection, regardless of our age. There is a story of a group of elderly women in a small village in Thailand who would meet every morning at the local temple to pray, chat, and prepare meals. For the monks, these women, who were mostly widows, had formed a bond that was stronger than family. They looked out for each other, shared their joys and sorrows, and found solace in each other's company. For them, these daily gatherings were not just a social activity but a way of life that gave them strength and happiness. They often spoke of how their friendships had kept them healthy and strong, both physically and emotionally. As we navigate the later stages of life, it's important to remember that it's never too late to build new connections. The wisdom of Buddhism teaches us that by opening our hearts, practicing kindness, and embracing those around us, we can create a life that is rich with love, joy, and fulfillment. In the end, the relationships we build and the love we share are what truly matter, bringing light to our days and peace to our hearts. As we come to the end of this enlightening journey, it's clear that aging gracefully isn't about counting the years, but about embracing every moment with a full heart and an open mind. Whether it's maintaining your mental sharpness, nurturing your body, engaging in lifelong learning, or building strong social connections, each of these traits helps us live a life of fulfillment and joy. Remember, as the Buddha wisely said, your work is to discover your world and then, with all your heart, give yourself to it. If you found value in this video, please show your support by giving it a thumbs up. Share it with your friends and family who might also benefit from these timeless teachings. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more insights on living a life of purpose, peace, and wisdom. Click the notification bell so you never miss our future content. Thank you for being a part of our community. Together, let's continue this journey towards a more meaningful life. Until next time, may you live each day with compassion, joy, and purpose.